Y'all better be grateful that we're actually doing a podcast this week. I just spent 5 hours outside in the sun. My first day working my new job. I'm tired as hell. This is Average Nerds Inspect Mass Entertainment, episode 26. If you only want to hear us talk about one of the shows, one of the 6 shows we're covering, just look
link in the description.
Yeah, what Grenchler said.
Yeet.
No.
Oh, come on. If you're going to have no energy, I have to have all of it.
Okay. Well, I'm Whooper.
Give me your energy.
Very well then.
I'm Grenchler.
I know. I already introduced you.
Oh, you did?
Yes, and I'm Whooper, and together we're two brothers.
Two brothers
talking about
on a mission.
Talking about anime. Let's just dive on in.
Let's just dive
on into the podcast. You know, the discussion.
Yeah. Hit me with a show, bro.
Okay. I don't care which one we do.
Let's do Maso-tan.
Okay, Hisone to Maso-tan. Yeah. I know that this is the one you're like least excited about, you know. So how do you feel about episode 3?
More of the same, kinda.
Okay. I mean, I agree. It was more of the same. To me, more of the same is like beautiful. It's, you know, it's a balm for my shitty anime infused soul. It just takes all my cares away. I guess. I think the show just looks good.
I mean, it does, absolutely. And honestly, the CG is really good in this episode too. They do a really good job of blending it to make it look like it's traditionally animated.
I actually read some speculation online about the production of this show that said their process might be that they animate the planes in CG and then they trace the CG animation.
That's interesting.
But if they were to completely commit to that process, then you would actually have 2D. You know, and there clearly is computer assistance going on here.
Right.
So it's not as though they're animating it, you know, in 3D CG and then just tracing it and only using the traces. Maybe what they do is just like buff up the quote unquote line work that the computer does.
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah, because the outlines of the planes are real thick.
The outline of all the characters is really pronounced.
Yeah, so it makes sense that if that's their process, it makes sense they would do it that way because then it provides some consistency between. Like a lot of CG anime,
the CG just looks way out of place.
Well, it looks out of place, but it also, you know, the lines are real thin because so are the characters. So opposite in this show for both the vehicles and the people. And I do think it looks pretty nice, which was important in this episode because it was centering on like an air show.
Yep.
That the JSDF or the Japanese Air Force, whatever they're called.
The Japanese Air Self-Defense Force.
The
JASDF.
JASDF.
It's like you just slammed your hand down on the keyboard.
Yeah. ASDF, I guess, are the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, we laugh here.
That is correct. And accurate.
I mean, this episode is pretty good. We saw in the ED, which I think, like in a lot of anime, you don't get the OP or the ED in the first episode.
No.
And then they kick in the second. As far as I remember, that's what happened here.
Yeah.
So we saw a bunch more of the characters that are going to be introduced in the ED last time, and one of them showed up. The heavy set woman with the kid.
Yep.
Whose name I forget. Right, Forrest was her attack name.
Her attack name, yeah. I was going to say call sign because it's the same thing.
Right. It was her call sign. And that was like a big part of the theme of this episode. Nicknames. It was a little strange.
The power of a name.
Sure, yeah, because she kept calling out Forrest's name to Maso-tan over and over, and he was like, "Huh? What's going on?"
You mean Oscar?
Right, Oscar, yeah. But I like the theme of names having power and her like searching for a nickname. I didn't totally feel as though that gelled with everything else that was going on. Because usually when people are trying to like find a nickname for themselves, or it represents like a search for identity, a search for purpose. And I feel like the first couple of episodes already were hammering that point home.
I think it wasn't looking for her self-identity. It was looking more for like being officially part of the group. You know, every one of the other pilots has a TAC name, and she's the only person who doesn't. She's the one who's constantly messing up. And then she finally gets one after she gets something right. To no credit of her own, obviously.
What do you mean, no credit of her own?
Dragon does all the flying.
I guess, but
she's like, what's going on?
Yeah, but that's just because the show's starting. Like, she'll figure it out eventually.
It's the third episode.
Out of 12.
Oh, yeah. But guess what? That's a quarter of the way in.
I understand. I understand that. Yeah. But I'm assuming, like, her character is nervous and just speaks without thinking. So it's like guaranteed to be a part of her character arc that she'll become more, at least a little bit more sure of herself and like steady in the cockpit or the dragon's stomach. You know,
whatever you prefer to speak as.
Speaking of,
just don't speak like that.
She's like, and did you notice that when she was in the whatever part of the dragon that she's in when she's piloting it, like you could hear like the gurgling of the acid? I don't think I ever picked up on that before.
They might not have done it till now.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but
I don't either.
It was a detail that I noticed this time. It's I like
nice.
I like all those little details, man, because they help legitimize the show's ridiculous premise. The dragon, the OTF, is the fighter jet. Like the last week when they were scrubbing the mold off the dragon and talking about the humidity in the hangar,
right?
That being something they would have to do. All those little tidbits make it, make the show go down a little easier. The idea
trying to add a sense of realism to the ridiculousness.
I wouldn't say realism, just world building in all caps with little tildes next to it.
World building is good.
Yeah. I think the world building, oh God, in this show, I think it is pretty good. Just, I am completely buying into the idea that this is how the Japanese Air Force operates. They have special elite dragon units. It's obvious. It's not true, but
how do you know?
Hisone to Maso-tan has me doubting the
planes are a lie.
Yeah.
The first F-35 was actually a dragon.
I don't know what an F-35 is.
A Joint Strike Force. It's taken $1.5 trillion to develop so far.
Of course.
There are 3 in existence.
Cool. So 500 billion per plane.
Well, development is expensive.
That's 50 trillion yen. I'm so Japanese.
It hovers.
Cool.
Called a VTOL.
All right. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with what we were talking about.
No, because they're F-15s. Those have been around forever.
Yeah. Okay.
Planes.
Let's get back on track.
The show's about planes and aircraft and SDF, so...
It's not about whatever you were talking about, though. Where's my mouse? I'm trying to scroll down.
I don't know. You're the master of your own mouse.
Yeah, sure. In addition to appreciating all the little details about the dragon, and the process of piloting it and caring for it and stuff, I like that all the characters get we get little bits of knowledge and see glimpses of their personalities coming through. Especially in this episode, I noticed that for like everyone. All the guys who are the heads of their departments and they sit in that little operations room. They all have, like there's the guy with the huge pompadour who's always looking real mean and like pissed off.
Don't use the phone for personal calls.
Did he say that?
Yeah, you're talking about the 3 people, right? Sitting in a row.
Yes, yeah. Well, there's those 3, but everybody, like all the pilots. It took me a while to get that out. All the pilots, the ex-pilot, like the new girl. you got to see that little bit of that little exchange between her and her senpai about the man that she ran off to after the dragon stopped accepting her, and they were apparently in love with the same guy. You just like are given these little details about the characters and their personalities. Yeah, and like you were talking about earlier, the shot of those three guys sitting at the
division heads, probably.
Yeah, and you could see their personalities both from their character designs and the way they, talk to one another. You got
the guy who looks meek, who doesn't say anything.
Right, he's got the glasses. I like all the characters. I especially liked Kaizaki in this episode. She's the delinquent girl who we saw a lot of last week.
Oh yeah, who builds that ridiculous puppet.
Yeah, the dummy pilot. It was nice that at first its only purpose was for the fair that they were holding, or for the event, and
at that point it only entertained children.
Yeah. Well, no, not just kids. I'm sure everybody got a kick out of it.
No, because what is it? Hisone says I can't believe you thought this was actually good.
Right. Yeah. She's doing her
and then
shtick.
The first thing that you see respond to it is a little kid being like, she's waving, and just waves back at it, which means it's only crappy enough for a child to believe that it's any good.
Right.
But then they stuck it. Don't we need someone in the dummy cockpit?
Yeah, they made the gag come back in a different way, which is good comedic writing.
And then its head exploded.
I thought it kind of just tore off. Did it really blow up?
Tore off, blow up, whatever.
There's a big difference, man. And one that I'm quite picky about, apparently.
Technically, if it blows up the neck sideways, that's the same as the head coming off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's...
Are we about done?
I think so.
I want to get through all the shows faster this time.
Because you're tired and you want to go to bed?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Next. I feel like that was a really superficial discussion of that episode, but I mean, how long are we? It's a cartoon. How long are we gonna go on about it?
We need to delve in deeply into the subtle nuances,
the intricacies,
in the OTF's little voice noises.
I liked when his eye, like the little hatch opened up, or whatever you would call that.
Yeah, so we could look around on the plane.
That was cute. I liked that.
And how did no one take a picture of that?
Yeah.
And
when the commander guy said, would it be a bad time to point out that we don't have anyone in the dummy cockpit? I thought the plane was going to take off with nobody inside. And that was going to become part of the story or something. The existence of OTFs was going to slowly leak out.
They would have just said that it's a robot piloting it, or an AI or something.
Yeah, but that would have been, I mean, that's what they would have had to say, but that would be really damaging to their reputation, because that was the big centerpiece of the event, was that last takeoff and flight. But it all worked out. And good job, Hisone. Good job, Maso-tan.
Yep.
Good job, everybody. Okay, next.
Yes. Megalo Box, everybody's favorite.
I think a lot of people actually are excited about this show. I think it's one of the this season is super sequel heavy. And I think this is one of the series that is making the biggest impact. That isn't, a reboot or a sequel of an established property.
Right.
Which is nice because, it's pretty good.
I think so. I was right, by the way.
About what?
About Joe fighting without gear.
Yes, you were. Okay, it was you. I was talking with someone the other day and I couldn't remember who it was who told me, oh yeah, he's going to fight without gear. It was you. Congratulations on your prediction coming true.
Yep.
The prophetic anime god.
That's me.
Himself is in the building.
Grenchler-san.
Okay. This is my least favorite of the 4 episodes so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the main reason for that, I mean, there are a lot of reasons. The kid just being so cloying and being, get up, Joe, you can do it. Him winning because of the power of teamwork. When Nanba's like, it's not just you out there. There's 3 of us.
The 3 of us are one.
Yeah, it does like
That's your answer.
Boxing is a very solitary sport. It really is just you in the ring. Like people are yelling at you to, your second is outside the ring yelling at you to do whatever, but it's just you versus a guy who wants to like punch your head off and kill you.
Well, not in regular boxing. They frown on killing.
Yeah. But the idea is that you're like murderously hitting each other, and you wear gloves and safety gear sometimes, I guess, depending
there are
on
gloves. That's about it.
Well, I mean, in some boxing, maybe at the amateur level or something, they wear those headpieces, those like the foamy ones that go around the sides of your face. But I mean, the idea is that you're really trying to pretty much kill the other guy.
Yeah, you're trying to beat him into submission.
Yeah.
Although boxing has technical knockouts where there's a point system as well.
Yeah,
so you can try to win on points rather than winning by beating your opponent senseless.
Yeah, I mean, Hajime no Ippo is this series is based on, or it's like an homage to Ashita no Joe from a billion years ago. But the boxing anime that I'm most familiar with is Hajime no Ippo, and that's something that's explored in that series. The main character always wins by KO because, of course, he does, because it's exciting and stuff. But I know there's a point system. I'd be interested in seeing one of the fights in this series like go that way. Him fighting against a really technical fighter who's trying to win via that method. But we have fewer chances to see that kind of fight now because they skip the second and third fights.
Yep.
It's just a montage.
And the fourth fight is someone else that he had trained.
Yeah, that Nanba had trained previously. That's right. But getting back to the reason why I wasn't a big fan of this episode, but mostly because I wasn't a big fan of the fight.
It had a bunch of like
guy.
shonen cliches in it.
Yeah, I guess. Not even shonen cliches though, like boxing cliches.
Like Rocky stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I haven't seen the Rocky films actually.
Neither have I.
So I don't know if there's like an annoying kid. And it was like he was perfectly tolerable in the last episode, but in this one where he's like, "Oh, get up, Joe. You can do it. You're my hero." He didn't say any of that, but I mean, he said
I'm so annoyed by this. I mean, he didn't say any of it.
But that was the idea. Like his characters, they're just there to like get all misty-eyed when Joe goes down, and then to be like, in awe when he gets back up, which he did at the 9th count out of the 10 seconds that he had to get up. Like,
yep.
Are you serious? I mean, this show's a throwback, so I get that it would want to lean on those kinds of tropes and story beats, but it was also trying to do something different where like he was afraid and fatigued, so the surface of the ring became like water and his feet would sink into it.
Yeah.
That was more of a metaphorical depiction of the fight. I want to see more of that because this I want the show to be its own thing, not just like a retread of some series that came before.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, they brought in the gear, so the fights look different and they are different because of that. And like the city's really technologically advanced, at least parts of it. So there's a twist on old boxing stories that's being used here, but I want to see the story take itself in a completely different direction, or the way the fights look, the way they feel. You're not saying anything. Every time I take
you're going on like a. Every time I take a breath, you're supposed to interject.
Well, yeah. I mean, once in a while would be good. How'd you feel about the episode?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because I'm going through a terrible show that is a shonen, that I'm okay with some of the more with what I referred to as like the shonen-y type stuff, where people getting up and the dramatic like still shots of someone panning while someone's laying on the ground, and then the hero gets up at the last possible second and is like, "I will defeat you," and then goes into beast mode after like one of their teammates talks to them or something and just one hits the guy.
Oh, Megalo Box is not the biggest offender.
No.
After this week's episode of You Know What, that was just like, I felt like I reversed aged 15 years watching it. I felt like I was like a dumb kid.
Isn't that a good thing though?
No.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like this episode. I understand what the purpose of the kid is. I mean, he did do a little more than what you said in the episode. He was
Remind me of what he did.
He was doing research on all of Joe's opponents. Like he has out his little pad and he's watching the footage of them fight.
Yeah.
And he's going frame by frame and seeing like how they're hitting, how their gear works in order to be able to instruct Joe on how to better be able to fight them. It's mostly during the montage.
Right.
But he provides more value than I'm going to spill some water and put some ice back in a bucket. You can do it, Joe.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that he was being real clumsy and spilling stuff.
Don't let your nerves get to you.
Yeah, I mean, him contributing to Joe's success and his strategy during a montage is really not a big redeeming point or like a selling point for me. Because I feel like his character, we did see that he had a photo of his family inside of his hat. Yep. So I have to imagine that that's going to be the one big like bit of information or development that his character will receive. But apart from that, I feel like he's probably finished growing. He's just going to be a kid who's tagging along. I don't know how much of a strategist he's going to demonstrate himself to be.
I don't have an answer for you because I don't know if his character is based on anything from the original.
Oh, but you're the anime prophet.
I am. They're going to open up a junior division of Megalonia and he's going to win.
The spinoff in 2025 or maybe 50 years after this. What's 2018 plus 50? Somebody help me. Post it in the comments below.
2068.
Like and subscribe. Yeah.
New merch, link in description.
Don't forget to follow me on Snapstagram.
And follow me on Twitface.
It was like I just wanted the fight to go differently than it did. And the shark guy, he was supposed to be like a dirty fighter, and we barely got into that. We barely saw that from him. He was just like a chump in Joe's way before the montage of two other chumps. There's only going to be 2 more fights before the big bracket, and we're only 4 episodes in. We're only a third of the way through. So I wonder if the series is going to continue moving at like this breakneck speed. And if it does, what's at the end? Like what's on the other side?
I have a risky prediction, and he's going to lose his next match.
Oh, you think so?
Mm-hmm.
Well then, okay. So,
I think the show will take a completely different turn.
I hope you're right. Yeah, I just want to see something different, you know? I would also really like I felt like this was the weakest episode in terms of visual impact as well. A lot of the punches that he and his opponent were exchanging, I didn't feel a lot of impact behind them, especially the ones where the camera was like pulled back a bit, because it's more difficult when you're...
Yeah, the further you are from something, the harder it is to convey speed and weight.
Yeah. And this episode chose to use a lot of like middle and far shots. I don't know why necessarily. I mean, maybe it was because it was just his first match and it wants to really push in on the action in later higher stakes games. That's my guess, at least. Or
they spent all their money on the first 2 episodes and now they're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't be surprised if they blew a whole chunk of money on some of the shots where it's like him coming up, like speed lines along the ground, and him weaving back and forth, and like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the one where when he's fighting Potemkin in episode 3, the guy's glove grazes him and the blood comes out. It's moving at like 5 trillion frames per second.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There wasn't anything in this episode like that, I don't think, and I don't really need for it to look like that every single week, but I felt as though it took too big a dip.
So it did an episode 4 Gynax.
You're thinking episode 4 Trigger.
Oh, was it Trigger?
Well, it was Gynax for Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
Wait, was it not episode 3 in Gurren Lagann that looked like that?
I can't remember if it was 3 or 4, but
it was one of those.
The quality literally fell off a cliff.
Right. It was same thing happened in Kill la Kill, but in that show I think it was intentional because that show was a big giant throwback to Gurren Lagann. I like that episode of Gurren Lagann. They worked with what they had. Like they understood that it was going to be, and it had that visual style because they brought in somebody for it. I mean, it's true that they probably didn't throw a whole bunch of manpower or resources on it or at it, but I like that episode.
Cool. I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay, well, you don't have to. We can just go on to another show real quick.
Okay,
Let's talk about the gigantic shonen mess that was Boku no Hero Academia this week.
why is this a shonen mess rather than just your average episode of a shonen?
Because it was, you know how the kid was like really obvious and annoying and dumb in this episode? Well, that's just my opinion. I mean, I didn't like how obvious the kid was, how obviously the show is trying to appeal to our emotions with the kid who's like, and then Joe gets up, whoa! So in this episode, this fight, it's like Deku versus whatever the guy's name is who can regenerate his muscle fibers, and
you just grow them at infinitum.
It's like unbelievably loud, dumb. It's like I said, it made me feel like the show was treating me like I was 10.
I don't know why, but like fights like that in shonen or in any kind of anime, movie, TV, doesn't matter what it is, I get like ridiculously hyped, and I'm like, yeah. Did
you hear like at the end of the fight, or maybe just before it ended, like a Coldplay sounding song came on, like Coldplay 2012 era, not the acoustic earlier albums, but like it was like some kind of bizarre electro pop like hype anthem.
I don't know, maybe it was a licensed song.
No, it's just like the show's telling you how to feel. Here, feel like this.
That is the point of music.
No, but it doesn't have to be so in your face. Like it's the, you know how when the event that I was working at today, they were just playing like, you know, Ariana Grande, Soulja Boy, Kendrick Lamar. I mean, no disrespect to Kendrick. I love the majority of his work, but I'm talking about artists with like insane mass appeal. They just put on that music because there's a large gathering, and it will win over the majority of attendees. It will provide pleasant background music because it's something they've heard before and something they like.
Right.
It's the same thing going on. Dude, I wish we could just like insert a little audio snippet of the song that plays at the end of this episode, because it's like so cloying. It just makes me want to puke all over your head, sir.
How would you compare it to the music that Naruto used whenever there was a fight? That the same track would come in with that guitar solo.
Same tracks used over and over in most anime series. They don't tend to put a lot of money towards
music.
Yeah, because they're busy drawing like a zillion pictures for every single episode. Even shows where there's just a bunch of stills, they're still drawing like a whole bunch, way more than you realize. So yeah, you hear the same tunes over and over, but I like the music in Naruto.
Yeah, so do I.
The down, because they were playing more traditional instruments, so it added a little flavor to it. But by contrast, in this episode of Boku no My Hero Academia, it was like just a generic sounding top 40 song. And I'm pretty sure there were even like the soaring vocals, like, oh,
be my mirror, my sword, and she, what?
I'm thinking about like Coldplay from this decade, not what you were singing right there.
I haven't listened to Coldplay since whatever that album came out.
You just heard it.
I don't remember.
If you listen to this episode.
I listened to it because that's what happens when you watch television. You hear it, but I don't remember the song.
But did you understand? Did you perceive?
No, I just remember the episode.
Yeah, well, let's talk about more of it besides that last fight.
Okay, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of fights against villains, I think.
Yeah, a couple. We have Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, his name was, what was it, Spinner?
Think so.
Yes, it is Spinner. The man with a blade that is in itself 1,000 blades.
Next level.
How can this be real?
How can you lose?
Oh, I'll tell you how you can lose by falling for your opponent's flirtatious banter. Remember the I don't remember all the pussycats' names.
Right, yeah, the girl with telepathy.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you're kind of kakui. You're kind of kakui. I think you're like choto hansamu.
Nani?
And he stops in his tracks. He blushes. He's like, oh, and then she sucker punches him or does something. I don't remember.
Yeah, she hits him and then he hits her back or something. And it's like, well, I'm an idiot.
You know who's a real idiot? Me.
For watching this show.
Pretty much. That's kind of how I felt. Oh, dude, maybe the worst offender of all was when Tiger, he's the male member of the Pussycats, I guess.
Yeah.
The guy with the mask and like the big muscles. Although I guess that describes everybody.
Yep. That does describe about half of them.
Remember when like one of the guy with the big lips and whatever thing is inside.
He's holding it like a piece of concrete.
No, I don't think it's a piece of concrete. I think that he's got some kind of tool in there and there's a cloth over it.
I don't know. I really think it's just a stick of concrete.
Maybe it is underneath the drape or the covering, but he's holding something that's got a covering on it.
Yeah, it's like a tall pillar thing.
Yeah. It might as well be a block of concrete for the way he's used it so far. But when he and Tiger start to get into a fight, Tiger literally says his name and then starts talking about the number of aggravated assaults and like robberies and a bunch of crimes that he's committed.
Yep.
He's just talking to the audience. Who in their right mind, when a bad guy shows up, would start citing all of his past crimes?
Shakespeare. Do you remember asides in Shakespearean plays?
But it wasn't an aside. There was a pretense of it being actual dialogue. This is not a Shakespearean fourth wall shattering comedy. This is a shonen.
Or is it? And you just don't have the mental capacity to understand.
Well, the thing is that this show will probably go down in history. You know, it'll probably be remembered quite well.
I see comments saying that it's the greatest anime of the last decade.
Well, those comments are being made by people who started watching anime like 2 seconds ago. But
no, their first anime was Fruits Basket. Their second anime was Boku no Hero.
I'm afraid it's Boku no My Hero Academy, sir. You gotta include all the names so you don't piss anybody off.
I think the English is My Hero Academia.
It is
actually.
Yeah, it is. So I've complained enough. Why don't you just talk about cool things?
Like how amazing this show looks?
I kind of, yeah, in general it does, but some of what was the name of the guy that Deku fought against at the end?
I don't remember his name.
Big muscle guy.
Yeah.
Some of the images of him like menacingly walking towards Deku, like with Deku, his back turned in the foreground, like hunched over on the ground, like, oh, how am I going to win? And then the other guy's approaching him from a distance.
Yep.
Some of those images were a little weird looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks good. It's
the rest of that fight looked amazing though.
Did it?
I think so. There's a lot of motion involved in that guy with all those muscles and the way like the fibers move and everything.
There's a lot of motion involved in Transformers films.
There is. Did you know that Optimus Prime is composed of over 15,000 individually movable pieces?
Did you know that Spinner's sword is comprised of over 900,000 individual sharp objects?
And he is quite obviously a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. I think it's cool that he's a Ninja Turtle. It's like, it's just a little shout out.
People can be whatever because of the way they set up what a quirk is.
Yeah, it can be literally anything.
Someone's a frog.
Yeah.
Her powers.
Someone's a frog.
She's a frog.
Someone has the ability to look at someone and know everything about them, including a list of their strengths and weaknesses. That's so Japanese.
Yeah, it's she's basically a DM.
There is an 82% chance of victory.
Yeah,
isn't their running speed 15% higher than we were told?
Ever since you've mentioned that, I've noticed it a lot more.
Yeah. It's a really Japanese thing. Like they have for shows like Boku no Hero, they have like guidebooks, character guides that they publish, and they have all the characters and like a list of their stats, like teamwork, physical strength, intelligence. They'll have all their stats, and then a list of like their blood type, their favorite food,
their height,
their likes, their yeah. It's just like apparently Japanese teens or preteens, whatever, they just can't get enough of that kind of information.
It also creates a foundation for video games.
Yeah, probably so.
Or free-to-play mobile games is more accurate, I suppose, nowadays. Actually, this goes all the way back to Naruto. You remember Kabuto? And he had those player cards?
Vaguely.
He had cards that he could like magically spin with his finger and they'd reveal all the information that he'd gathered on someone. He had a deck of like 300 cards that he carried with him everywhere.
Does this not like prove to you that all shonen series, or the vast majority of them, are just like cookie cutter, taking the same ideas that were popularized by, I don't know, probably DBZ, but let's just say DBZ, I guess, and just reusing them in new settings? It's all the same.
It's all the same, so don't watch any of them.
I ain't saying all that.
Regardless of if you enjoy the show or not.
The fight, the most enjoyable part, I guess, I'm guessing for most people, was the big fight at the end. Like, because you got the big bombastic music playing, like the strings going, and Deku's like, he's holding the line, 100%. What's the name of his quirk? One for all.
One for all. That's right.
100% one for all is not enough, so he has to use
1,000,000%.
That's correct.
I have a theory that he's not going to be able to use his right arm again.
That's obvious bullcrap, dude.
How do you know?
It's a shonen series.
Well, you don't remember this, but in season 2, you notice how he has like this little stitch on both sides of his hand.
It's not a stitch; it's a scar.
Yeah, it's a scar.
Yeah.
Well, that was after he had fought Ice Person. Don't remember. Ice and Fire dude.
Todoroki.
After he fought her. And
I remember.
Recovery nurse says, if you do this again, your arm will not work.
Yeah, but it will.
I don't know.
There's no way that Shonen Jump is going to make the protagonist of one of their best-selling series a gimp. Pardon my non-PC...
Partial gimp.
It's just not going to happen. He'll have unlocked some secret power or something by going to 1,000,000%.
Dunno.
And he's going to go to 1,000,000,000% in 2019. It's not even a question.
In 2020, it's going to be 1,000,000,000,000. It's going to be huge.
And then even further beyond. Plus Ultra.
I know you don't like talking about this show because you don't think there's anything to talk about.
I'm having the time of my life pooping on it.
Time of my life.
The guy showing up the villain showing up exactly where the kid was, Kato, whatever his name was.
And exactly the villain that had killed his parents.
Yeah. That's
all television. That's all movies. Everything's just super situational and convenient.
I don't agree. I mean, maybe in this genre, but
yeah, I think so.
Not in general.
What else?
Oh, the one cool thing that I think came out of that fight was the revelation that kid actually has powers of his own,
which I also predicted last episode.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It makes complete sense. It's something it's a part of himself that he's been suppressing because of what happened to his parents and his inability to deal with that. And I'm sure he's like suffering from real like self-hatred as well, because he like a part of him on like a biological level is the same as the people that he hates, the mentality that he sees as having failed his parents.
But now that his whole worldview is going to be flipped because he found his hero.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as Megalo Box. Gag me with a spoon.
I mean, but that happens in real life to people. A lot of people have watershed moments where they turn around from a point of view that they had before.
But do there need to be so many of them, like in succession? You would, those kinds of events are like once or twice in a lifetime type moments. So for them to be on display every few episodes in a series like this, or in a work of fiction in general, that like betrays your expectations based on your knowledge as like someone living a real life.
This is a TV show where somebody can destroy a city with a punch.
I know.
Let's get super analytical about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, but what's the alternative? Just
turn off your brain and watch.
Just accept everything that happens unthinkingly.
You don't have to accept it. You can laugh at the silliness or goofiness of the circumstances and still enjoy the show. I mean, I laugh at how terrible the plot is in a bunch of things, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, dude, I wish that we're just a little smarter and a little sharper and a little less just obvious, like a little less of a neon sign flashing throughout every single episode. Like this is what you're supposed to take away. This is what you're supposed to think. Because I don't know. Like think about something like Full Metal Alchemist. That's that's obviously the gold standard. It's not fair to compare everything to that, but
also we think one of the Pussycat dolls died.
Yeah, but that's not true. I'm gonna. I mean, there is a chance.
I don't know. Heroes die, and we've already had.
What major character has died in this show?
Well, they haven't died, but they have lost their
Endeavor. No, not Endeavor. No.
And
Endeavor's Todoroki's dad. It's Ida's older brother.
Yeah, Ida's brother.
I forget his superhero
paralyzed
name.
from the waist down.
Yeah, but he's not dead. No. I really doubt that this show would go so dark as to hack a character to pieces so her limbs are just lying all over the place.
Well, someone lost a hand.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't.
Don't worry. Hands grow back. No, they don't.
What is her power? The character who may have lost a limb.
I don't.
Is there power to regrow limbs?
Next week.
I don't even think that's that far-fetched. I kind of agree that it's possible that somebody died because the show went super grim. This show does that every once in a while. It goes super grim and super dark. And then after that's over, everybody just goes back to joking around and Bakugo yelling. And it's all jokes.
Well, it's the same thing with the in Naruto, which I'm rewatching for some godforsaken reason. After the third Hokage dies,
give me baby formula. Nom, 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 nom.
Kill yourself. After the third Hokage dies, which is this really sorrow scene, obviously, because everyone dresses in black and it's gray, so it's just feel sad, guys.
Yeah, but it's a funeral.
Yeah, I know.
That there at least it makes sense for you to kind of be instructed how to feel.
But the next episode is back to just being completely wacky.
Yeah, well, I mean that was kind of the end of an arc, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the end of the tuning exam.
Yeah,
and then it starts with looking for Tsunade.
Right. Is that where you are in the show?
Yep.
Well, have fun.
And Sasuke gets BTFO'd by Itachi in 3 seconds.
I wish there were more fights like that. All right, we're not here to talk about Nardo, though. We're discussing only the finest of spring 2018 animes.
So speaking of which, we should talk about Gundam 08th MS-Teen from 1995.
It was 96 through 99, I think.
95 is the copyright date on the title screen.
I don't care. Do you just want to skip straight to that?
No, I mean, we can do the other shows first. Let's do Hinamatsuri.
Okay. It's a pretty good show.
Yes, it is. Another kind of 2-part episode.
Well, the last one was 3 parts.
Yeah.
Right? This one was 2, so it was a little different. And the stories kind of crossed over a
merged.
Bit because Anzu was in both.
Right.
Hina gets kicked out of... Wasn't it weird that the end of the last episode was actually a cliffhanger? That was strange. But this one just picks up with him being like, it's a wreck. My apartment's a wreck. I thought that was odd.
I guess. I don't know. I don't think but they didn't leave a cliffhanger that's... There are some cliffhangers that when you watch them, you feel like, oh, this is just trying to draw me into the next episode. And there's some cliffhangers when you watch them, you have a pretty good expectation of what's going to happen next. And if you want to watch the next episode, you're going to do it. If you don't, you don't really care.
Yeah, well, yeah, this isn't a...
This isn't a Walking Dead cliffhanger.
Sure. I guess. I wouldn't know.
This isn't a, hang on, I got this.
I'm thinking,
more recent reference.
I'm thinking like Death Note or something.
I was going to say, nope, that's not the right title.
Okay, we're going to move on until you remember.
Kokoku.
Oh, right. Yeah, that show really had a big cliffhanger problem. Yeah, but this is just a comedy. I just thought it was odd that it picked up exactly where it left off. I didn't know that it was even going to continue with that story.
I figured it would.
Yeah. Oh.
Turned out okay. Took a while.
The anime prediction god strikes again. Yeah, so she gets kicked out, and then she chills with Anzu for a little while.
She's a terrible homeless person.
Yeah. Well, she is she's not a character of high moral fiber. When she first emerges on Earth and gets out of that little metallic egg, her first instinct is to manipulate the first person she sees by like
extorting them.
Yeah, pretty much, by threatening to destroy their prized possessions. So is it any wonder that she's like lazy and is mooching off people?
Well, she's probably just been, taken care of like that her whole life.
Well, but the thing is, Nita introduced her to the idea of working for pay. Maybe not money, but like she volunteered to help him out, and in exchange, he gave her a place to stay, and he continued to provide those like the salmon roe that she really loves. And I think that was something that we saw her learn, was like, okay, maybe not as directly as Anzu, who learned, oh, this is money, so I use this to buy things. But we still saw Hina like learn that she can earn things by working. But she completely like throws that away. Disappointment.
She works and earns something.
Who?
Hina.
In this episode?
Yeah.
What is she
She
do?
works with the rock band and like helps busk. Right. Helps them busk.
Yeah. She literally levitates the front man.
Yeah.
That was the funniest part of both of these episodes. Like when she was levitating him and then there's the crowd shot and Nita's just in the middle with the shadow cast over his face. He's like, what the hell's going on?
Yep.
That made me laugh. I chuckled.
Wasn't the episode title had to do with rock and roll, didn't it?
I don't remember.
Or like rock is the way to the heart or something like that.
Okay.
It had to do with rock and roll, and it was entirely, the episode title was focused on that band that was in the show for a minute.
Right. Although that same band, at least the front man, maybe more of their members, are in the ending theme. You know how it's the shot of Utako? Is that her name? The woman at the bar?
Yeah.
It's a shot of like them and a couple customers, and it zooms out and keeps zooming out. You see more and more characters till there's like 50.
They're against the wall. Yep.
Yeah. The guy from the band was there.
Huh.
I noticed that. I watched the ED all the way through for some reason. I guess to see if any of the characters were familiar to me now that I'd watched another episode.
Okay.
And they were. That's kind of cool.
Maybe they'll come back.
Maybe. I think I would like it if characters kept recurring, just showed up for like 10 seconds at a time, like small little gags.
They did say we'll be here tomorrow night.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do.
Okay. Maybe we'll see him again. I mean, there was already some amount of continuity between the third and fourth episodes. We're talking about episode 4 right now. So
right, it was a continuation of the end. So.
Maybe we'll see that guy again.
And we saw more of Bartender Middle School.
Right, he told me, yeah. She was the second half of the episode, or the second story.
Yeah,
with Anzu.
Because she works through the night on the weekends.
Yeah, that's her life is like spiraling out of control. Did you notice that she and Anzu were talking, and Anzu was like, yeah, I collect cans to make money. That's what I do. And so Hitomi takes her to the can dispenser place, or I don't know, just a little recycling area where you put the cans of the shop next to the bar.
Yeah.
Did you notice that she blackmails the guy who she's working at this bar where like members of the Yakuza come in. She's like learning from them.
Yeah.
She's picking up on like their bad habits or their shady dealings.
Or maybe she knows, hey, your boss works for the Yakuza. You'll be killed if I tell on you.
No, that wasn't one of her coworkers.
Oh.
He was from like the next door, a store in like the same area or the same shopping
I noticed
district.
that seemed out of character for for her was that she'd like blackmail that person into letting her take the cans.
I don't think it is out of character though.
Well, not anymore.
Right. Like her character's changing in the same way that Anzu is learning valuable lessons about like making friends and being responsible for yourself. Hitomi is actually picking up a whole bunch of terrible life lessons working at the bar. I have a feeling that by the time we get to the end of the show or the end of the season, she's going to be like
a little member of the Yakuza.
Well, just she's going to be like a little nastier and have more of an edge to her personality on average. I think that's probably where she's headed. Like in a light-hearted kind of fun comedic way, but I don't think this is the last time we'll see her do something like that.
Okay.
So I'm making a prediction of my own over here.
It's good theory.
Thanks.
Yep.
What?
How much do you make in a day? About that much. I can make more than that in less than half an hour. One day I made 780 yen.
What? Oh yeah. One other thing that I noted in this episode at the end of the first plot between Hina and Nita, like they haven't gone back to being on really good terms. She like slams the door on her way out, not in anger, but she happens to slam the door on her way out, and Nita's like,
Don't slam the door.
Yeah, don't slam the door. Like he's exasperated.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. So they're not like.
But he put the vase on his shelf.
Yeah, and he was also kind of displeased with the gift that she got for him. Like he doesn't say to her, "Oh, that's like really thoughtful and really sweet of you. You can like come on home." It's not like back to normal between them.
Right, but that's to be expected.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's necessarily to be expected. I think there are plenty of series that would just reset the situation and have them be.
I mean, that would be that's to be expected from if that situation.
What are you talking about?
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No.
Without my word soup. I think that's the result we could expect from a real relationship. You know, things don't just instantly go back to normal because someone's like, "Oh, I made a kind gesture." Now you don't have any trust issues or worried about the fact that I blew up your house. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, we are watching a TV show, and I think that's not always to be expected. Sometimes that the change in a character's relationship is going to be
instantaneous.
Erased. Just for convenience or because whoever's writing the show or directing it feels as though that's how it should be. So that's just something I noted. So we'll see if they're on good terms again.
They're just perfectly fine next episode.
Yeah. I hope that they're not the perfect odd couple after this.
Right. I see what you're saying.
I hope there's still a little, uneasy. Things are uneasy in the Nita household. We'll find out.
Stay tuned for scenes from our next episode.
I'm about done talking about this show.
All right, there's only one left.
There's two left, right?
I mean, one left from spring.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Lupin
Zasad.
Part 5, episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
The desert, baby.
You realize that next episode is going to be Lupin Part 5, Episode 5.
Lupin,
oh my God!
Lupin the 3rd, the 5th, the 5th.
Sure.
Lupin 355.
Oh yes, that's right. Think about like the planetary alignment that must have happened when it was Lupin the third, season 3, the third episode, 3 minutes, 3 seconds.
I was going to say 33.
God, it must have been amazing.
33 seconds, but
what went on exactly in Lupin's world in this episode?
Continuing to escape, he had the inspector's help.
Zenigata.
To escape from Fujiko.
Yeah.
Who was trying to kill him.
Yeah. Was she really?
Maybe.
Like the show, it's obviously she wasn't, or at least that's how it seems to me. But the show also didn't wink very hard at us about it. Like she is an opportunist. That's part of her character. So she shows up wherever the most amount of money can be made. like wherever the biggest heist is. And killing Lupin, like taking his head, would make her the most money. So it fits with her general MO. But I just thought it was weird that the show didn't like wink very hard at us. It kind of played the Fujiko killing Lupin thing relatively straight. I thought that was bizarre. I wasn't like ready for that.
Well, I don't know anything about the characters, so it seemed more straightforward to me.
Yeah, she's not that kind of person. She and Lupin have like a long-standing relationship, not a romantic one.
Not according to him.
Well,
he says on the car ride.
Yeah, well, he says that things aren't like that, like romantic between Fujiko and I anymore. But I'm talking about.
I would expect her to be the one that kills me.
Yeah, I'm talking about their relationship as characters in this franchise. They're always they always end up in the same spot, and oftentimes they cooperate. I just thought it was weird.
Why talk about it as a franchise? Why not just focus entirely on this series? Because it's trying to tell a self-contained story.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I like that. I'm just used to a whole bunch of one-off like capers and heists from Lupin. And the next episode preview where the story continues.
I don't watch the previews for next episode because I'm not a pleb.
Oh my God, fighting words.
What's the point?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I agree actually, but I was curious with this show in particular, like how long can this go on? How long is the Lupin game and Ami's character and the whole thing with like the entire government of this fictional country that's outside the
fictional world?
Yeah, well, this country is like outside the jurisdiction of the UN, essentially.
Yeah, they call it IPO.
ICPO.
The International Constable's Police Office.
Very
That's
good.
not what it means, but
good enough.
Close enough. Close enough.
Yeah, I'm just a little baffled by how long the story has gone on, and all the attention that was paid to Ami's character in this episode. She was like the star of it, pretty much.
Yeah, she takes down the helicopter. She helps them find food. She finds water, although I'm pretty sure the other two would have found it eventually.
Yeah, the thing about her finding the water, that was the most significant moment to me, because until that point, she had been talking about, being in the outside world is just troublesome. I just want to live like a virtual life,
Right.
But when she finds the water, it's like such a... She's been suffering, like she's been dying, and when she finds the water, it's like it's a physical
relief.
Yeah. So and it feels, how like when you haven't taken a piss in a long time and you finally go, yeah, or when you eat after not having eaten, you drink after not having drinked.
Drunk in the past tense.
Yeah, it's like a big. It just feels very.
It's like a sigh of relief.
Yeah, well, more than that, it was almost like a spiritual thing for her, like because she hasn't spent a lot of time out in the world, and now when she dunks her head into the water, she's like, she feels what it means to be truly alive.
Yeah, to be outside, and sunburnt,
nature, and shit.
Yeah, desert and stuff.
Yeah, so she seemed to be the star of this episode, kind of. Lupin is always, the show's named after him, but she got lots of attention.
Yeah. Well, she's the new character, so they have to spend the most time developing her for people who've watched all of them because the others are already developed.
But is she going to become a recurring character?
Maybe she's only in for this. Maybe she'll die.
Hello? I don't think so,
A lot of people have died already.
Yeah, including Lupin.
No, he's not dead.
He gets shot in the head. He's dead.
He gets shot in his toupee.
He's definitely... No, he already pulled off his toupee.
Who says he didn't put on another one?
And
use it as a grenade.
Yeah. Well, no. What wasn't that weird? It seemed like his toupee at the start, right after he gets away from Fujiko. It seemed that his toupee was a literal grenade. It must have been that he was just hiding a grenade underneath or something equally dumb. But it did they didn't differentiate between the grenade and whatever was covering it. So maybe he was wearing a grenade on his head. I don't understand.
I don't know. But he's obviously not dead. One, you watch the preview for the next episode. And he's still in it.
Yeah, no, the preview acts as though he's dead.
Oh.
He doesn't show up in the preview. At least you don't see his face. You kind of see the back of his head in like a shadowy moment for a split second. But for the most part, the camera's on like Zenigata, Fujiko, Jigen, A.N.I.M.E. It's not like you don't really see Lupin.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's so dramatic, dude. He's dead. We saw him. We saw him get
die.
shooted. How do you think? What do you think happened exactly?
I think he has like a blood pack in the top of his hair, so that it looks like he's dead. Because he knows the only way for that assassin game to finish is if he dies.
Right. Yeah. Faking his death seems logical. But I had. Go ahead. Sorry.
Faking your death gets you out of a lot of problems. There was actually a story about a guy in a Nordic country somewhere who was pronounced legally dead. 3 years later, he shows up in court to contest it, and the judge denied his contest. So he's still dead.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
That sounds like the kind of thing that would happen in a show this dumb.
It gets you out of a lot of problems, but it causes a lot more.
Yeah, dying.
If you're in civilized society.
Dying's a real pain.
What does the Shikamaru always say?
Troublesome.
Yeah.
He says that it's troublesome.
What a drag.
Right, that was the English dub. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, my theory, it makes more sense for Lupin to fake his own death so that he can get out of this Lupin game. But my theory was that like you know how A.N.I.M.E kind of is looking at her tablet when she sees Lupin get shot? I'm pretty sure that what we're seeing there, or I'm not pretty sure.
CG.
I think that the one person who bet on him dying on May 10th or whatever the date was
is that drone person, and then they just edited the footage.
Yeah, they're like some kind of hacker. But the problem with that theory, first of all, it makes sense for Lupin to fake his own death narratively. And second of all, I feel like Zenigata also saw the exact same thing happen. Like, I don't think it was just a video feed that was plugged into everybody's view of the Lupin game.
Could have been a bullet that was just loaded with fake blood or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Lupin has actually been cooperating. Oh, okay, I got it. Fujiko's the one who bet on Lupin dying that day. And
he fakes his death, they split the money.
Yeah, they're in it together. In fact, now that I've said that, I would be like shocked if that didn't happen.
Okay, well, we'll
shocked, I tell you.
We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Doesn't that make like way too much sense? I guess maybe it would be harder for you to tell not having seen Lupin stuff in the past.
I don't know anything.
But Fujiko
She's been in this show for about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe less. She's in a plane, and she's on the ground. She shoots a gun, and she has a standoff with Lupin's henchman.
Dude, what was up with like the goat herder having a cell phone and taking a picture of Lupin? Do you remember early on?
Yeah.
When they're like fleeing from a helicopter or something.
Yeah,
in their
they
car?
walk into the desert, and the dude pulls out his phone and takes a picture.
Yeah. They don't walk in. They're driving a car and they like crash it.
Yeah, and then
he takes a picture as they're fleeing.
They don't get they don't crash it. They're like shot by a helicopter. The car careens, explodes, and they get out and manage to limp away. And he's like,
local goat herder enjoys playing Lupin game in his spare time.
I noticed that in your notes.
That made me laugh when that happened.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is intentional.
Well, I don't know. If it was, what do you think its purpose intended to be comical or to continue the game or both?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I just thought it was weird that the guy is a goat herder or something. He's probably living in relative poverty. I know that there are like government programs that distribute cell phones in
a corrupt government though?
Countries. Yeah, I mean maybe. Doesn't that make it even more strange that he has a cell phone though?
I don't think so. For a lot of. At least I know this is true where we are. A lot of lower income workers all have smartphones because it's the only way to get work.
Yeah, it does seem to be a necessity, if you're looking for a job, you got to.
Maybe it was actually a subtle social commentary about how we're all addicted to our phones and games. And
guilty.
And can't spend the time in the great sheep doors.
I think you mean the desert. where you can dunk your head into a thing of water underneath a windmill and experience true life.
True bliss.
What was the deal with the windmill?
Windmills are commonly, or they used to be commonly used as pumps. The windmill would spin and it would draw water up from the ground.
I mean, that makes sense to me. What I'm talking about is that elaborate trap she sets for the helicopter.
Oh, I don't know.
With the rope in the ground and the net that comes up. What on earth? Can you explain that to me? That didn't make any like logistical or mechanical sense.
The only way I can think of is if the windmill had some mechanism to like revert itself to like normal operation, so it would spin the other way. So they had a bunch of rope wrapped around it to tension it to the ground. So when she cut that line, it would spin really fast the other way and pull the net up.
Yeah, but how did it perfectly encapsulate the helicopter?
I mean, all it would have to do is touch one of the blades.
But that's not how it happened. Like it was tangled up in the. It just, it was just silly. It, like,
suspend your disbelief, my good son. He has a flying Fiat 500. In the theme song, they go to space in it.
Yeah, and then they dive down through the atmosphere without getting burnt to a crisp just because he saw some tits in a satellite feed.
Pretty sure it's Fujiko as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is too. It's it's goofy for sure. But I just like, what else are we going to talk about?
I don't know.
The depth of Lupin's character. He's so
suave.
He's so noble.
I just like being the hero.
Right. I like being the guy who rescues the girl. That is his deal.
You know what we can't talk about though?
Gundam 08th MS team?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it.
We got 2 episodes, episode 3 and 4.
Yeah. Which did you like better?
That's a good question.
There is a correct answer.
There's a correct answer.
And you must provide it.
I'm sure the correct answer was episode 4.
That's correct. Why do you say that? Why would you say that that's the correct answer?
I don't know, I guessed.
Okay. Well, which one did you actually like better?
It was... Oh yeah, episode 3 was the... I was trying to remember the order in my head.
Yeah.
Because it was the first thing I watched. Episode 3 was the one with the gorilla,
right? Guys,
the pincer attack, and episode 4, the ensign had to come up behind them and attack from behind, while the other 2 attacked from the ground, going up a hill to take back the village.
Okay,
and he was delayed by the native, the grill.
Yeah, the gorillas, the gorilla grill.
Yeah, the gorilla grill.
Right. That's a girl for those of you who aren't up on your
internet speak.
Vaguely misogynistic internet lingo.
At least we're not saying whammon.
I'm sorry, I just had to laugh at that. That always makes me crack up whenever anyone says it. Just because I imagine their brain being the size of a pea. Yeah, but it's. I mean, you can't get too into like gender roles or politics or anything when you're talking about Gundam, because this is literally a show where a guy gets beaten up because he saw a girl naked, and everyone else is mad. Oh, we haven't even seen that yet. It's classic Japan.
Thank you, Japan, for making us feel better about ourselves.
I always view that kind of thing as like slightly charming. And in Hisone to Maso-tan too, like when they're harassing her and making comments about how much of a babe the old pilot was and how Hisone is like, she doesn't measure up.
Right.
Some part of me always finds that like a little bit charming. Like it's kind of an older sense of humor, I guess, where there are no lines drawn in the sand about what you can and can't talk about.
And she
problematic.
And she blatantly speaks about it. She's like, other people may have considered that good-natured ribbing, but I consider that sexual harassment.
Yeah. Did you notice when she was saying it, like, did you hear the Japanese, the term she used?
No.
They call it sekuhara. They call sexual harassment sekuhara.
I guess they had to get that word from us because it didn't exist in their language.
Yeah. If you like, the more anime you watch, the more you'll start picking up on specific words and also English being like thrown in. They borrow a whole bunch of our language, as we do from other languages.
Our entire language is comprised of other languages.
Well, yeah, but we
all
can't,
languages are.
We can't afford to get too etymological. We'll be here all night.
Everything's just Latin. Everything's different forms of Latin.
That's not true.
What was the first language?
I don't know. Caveman.
Indus River Valley civilization.
Speaking of cavemen, Gundam 08th MS team features a band of like guerrilla fighters. I guess they're natives of the area.
Yeah, they live there.
Yeah. And they're all Neanderthals.
What?
They're all like idiots. They're Cro-Magnons, they're cavemen, they're boneheads.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to be like savages, like jungle savages.
Yeah. And of course, the guy with the Japanese name, Shiro, is going to come down from space and team up with them and like teach them to be civilized and tame them.
I must tame these wild beasts.
Yeah, the real Christopher Columbus over here.
Well, if he's Christopher Columbus, he'll end up killing all of them.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll all end up dying. Gundam can get pretty grim sometimes. But yeah, you talked about the pincer attack. I would never have thought to phrase it that way.
They phrased it that way in the show.
Yeah, but it wasn't, right? Like his main contribution to the fight was when he used that he shot that ranged weapon to blow up a bunch of their pillboxes on top of the hill.
Right.
That was like his big contribution. That's what allowed Sanders and whatever the woman's name is.
Right. That's a pincer attack. When you come in from two angles at once.
I thought a pincer attack was more like when both parties like physically converge on an area.
No, it's when you have an enemy in the middle and you're on both sides of it and you collapse on the middle.
Yeah, but did he really do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He came up behind him.
I'm not a tactics guy.
I played a lot of Advance Wars.
There are worse franchises to waste your time with.
And the Total War games and other stuff.
Yeah, well then episode 3 probably had some stuff that would be like attractive to you as a viewer. Because it is more about the mission. Like it starts in the middle of a mission and works its way to the end with a little pit stop in the middle where he's accosted and like captured. He's captured.
He's captivated.
He's captured, but and he's brought to the thing. And did you notice how many times he said, "I can't be wasting time"? He kept saying that over and over and over. I'm sure that's literally what he was saying in Japanese, but I wish the sub did like mix it up at 1 or 2 points. I'm just complaining.
Yeah.
About everything.
At least you didn't watch it in English.
Well, you and I started watching it that way.
And it was not good.
No, it wasn't.
That's most early 90s dubs, though.
Not the early 90s, bro.
Mid 90s. Mid to late 90s.
Right. Yeah, lots of dubs from all eras are bad. But some of them are good,
Yeah.
And if you download like a dual audio rip, might as well try the English, see if by some miracle it's tolerable.
I was about to say good may be a stretch. Tolerable though, that can happen.
Yeah, but this one wasn't even tolerable. It was bad.
It was pretty bad.
I thought episode 3 actually looked noticeably worse than 1, 2, or 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's maybe because there was there was more combat in it.
Perhaps.
But a good portion of the episode did, stay away from it, as I suppose all of them do. Now that I say that out loud.
No, there was plenty of combat in this episode, more than in any of the others, I think.
Well, at least to come yet.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Maybe once we get to the end, it'll be just like all war all the time. But I preferred episode 4 because it was more character based, and it also pushed the story forward more than just being focused on one mission.
Yeah, because we saw the other party and some of their like inner politics.
Yeah, the Zeon, right?
And the Sieg hailing.
Yeah, Gundam is never subtle about the Nazi imagery. It's been like it ever since the 70s. It was like that. The late 70s. Yeah.
We'll fight with you in a war, but then we'll disown you by making you the enemy in Gundam. Then you will forever...
They had no choice, dude. We dropped nukes on them and killed millions.
150,000 between the two.
Is that all?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's horrible to say.
Yeah, it's a lot less than people think it was millions. But cities weren't as densely populated in the 40s.
Yeah, I guess.
Japan was a lot more spread out then.
That's still a lot of lives.
Yeah, that is.
But
have you seen what those cities look like now? They're the most futuristic looking cities in the world.
I'm sure.
Because they had to be rebuilt.
Yeah. I'm sure that was part of the idea, like part of this strategy kind of would be to take the sites where they suffered such a crushing, like the biggest defeat maybe in human history,
and make it a shining example of progress.
Yeah, make it like a nationalistic thing a little bit.
Although they function a lot like us.
Well, that's because we instilled our government.
Yeah.
After we nuked them to death, we were like, okay, well now you're going to live exactly like us too.
Yes.
Which is,
name a country we haven't done that to though. So
It's because we're the best and most strongest.
I saw this is a little bit of a non sequitur, but I saw recently
we've already gone way off the beaten path.
I saw a map of all the countries that Britain has invaded over the years. There's only like 4 that aren't colored in.
Out of what, 100 and how many countries are there? 150-ish?
150, 160. Yeah, they've invaded and colonized like almost all of them.
I mean, we did come from Britain, so that's probably where we got our colonial streak or our imperial streak, maybe.
I was about to say imperialism, yeah. But back to the imperialistic Zion pigs. They have fancy parties.
It's Zeon, right? Well, Zeon is the name of their territory or their country.
Their principality.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But we hear them referred to as Zeeks. But I wonder what the term is for like someone from Zeon. They're a Zeke if you're a Fetty.
Right.
But what are they if you're just trying to talk about them without any jingoistic slur?
I don't know. Maybe they're someone from the Zeon. They're a Zeonite.
That sounds way too much like something else. But sure. Well, I'm just going to say person from Zeon, probably.
Sure.
Yeah, we did get to see how the better half lives, the richer half. Like we see it in kind of the aristocracy at a big party, and the nobles and the higher class, and that guy who comes in with the crazy hair.
Yeah,
he
like one of the other generals, and he's hitting on the brother's sister.
Yeah, he seems to be like super highly ranked. Yeah. I didn't get that impression from him when he first showed up, but apparently he's like a big deal in the military.
I figured that out just because of the way that he, people that are, I wouldn't expect someone of a lot lower rank to walk in there with so much bravado and just be able to like toss around names and do what he wants and get away with it.
Well, you might think that way if the character were just like a complete dunderhead. Because there are characters like that who have no authority and no smarts and no ability, but they still talk big and still puff themselves up.
Right.
But that's not who this guy is. He's like apparently a really high-ranking military guy, and he's probably like a capable fighter and but he just has like a shitty personality.
Commander on the Eastern Front.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, he said he has to go back to Europe.
That's true. Yeah, the European front.
Send me your weapon when you're done. I need it.
Yeah, he was just like commandeering the technology that this guy has spent his life developing. And it may have suffered some damage because Ina's the one who's piloting it. And at the very end, Sanders, and that was the other half of this episode for me. It was Sanders' story as well.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a real good job with his character. The fight at the start, and then his character kind of goes through an arc all unto its own in this episode. He starts off getting beaten down by the guys who are making fun of him, and then he gets to his lowest point where he's like, okay, I'm quitting.
He's like, I'm done.
I don't want you guys to die. I'm cursed. And then he has his moment of redemption, where he takes out his laser sword, and that like badass scene where he's like charging towards the.
I don't want to call it a proton sword because I'm not positive if that's the correct term, but that's what it feels like in my brain.
I don't know what is called in Gundam.
I know that in
lightsaber.
I know in Ava
lightsaber
that it's called a
prog knife.
Prog knife. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, but it was like a beam sword kind of thing, an energy sword, laser sword, lightsaber. Yeah, he takes it out and he like puts a big gash in the. What was that thing called that I.N.I.M.E was piloting and that her brother had developed?
I don't remember its name.
It was something about plasma energy.
It had like a new like energy technology or something to it. And it was massive.
It was, yeah. And it looked real clunky. It almost looked like a miniature fortress.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of appropriate, given that it's probably like a really super powerful weapon that could turn the tide of the war, and given that Zeon, they're portrayed as kind of, the quote unquote bad guys.
They're also portrayed as the Nazis, and depending on how much you know about how the Nazis developed weapons, they built ridiculous things. I mean, massive, completely unusable weapons that had no place in a theater of war. They built a gun that took 3 weeks to get to the battlefield. They had to build train tracks to move it, and it could fire once every 4 days because it recoiled so far.
Sounds like the Death Star, dude.
It was called the Gustav, and the shell that it fired was larger than this room.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of equivalents in anime series that I've watched and in movies, television shows.
At the end of Girls und Panzer, they're fighting a tank called the Mouse, which is the massive tank that Germany built towards the end of the war. They only ever finished one because it could move 9 miles an hour. But it had so much armor and such a massive gun on it that it couldn't be beaten. It had to be destroyed by like 50 tanks
I think
at once.
I remember that episode of Girls and Panzer, actually.
They had to outmaneuver it because its turret rotated so
Didn't
slow.
they have to get it kind of stuck between two buildings or something?
They like ramped off of another tank in order to position their gun between two of its armor plates.
That's sounding familiar now.
Because its armor is literally a foot of steel thick on all sides. It couldn't be broken by any weapon at the time.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the idea behind this weapon in 08th MS team.
They built like Zeppelins and stuff, and that didn't work out so well.
No, it didn't.
They're flying airships, so we'll see how well this flying airship works.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Aina is that she has a romantic connection kind of with Shiro. I mean, that's quickly being forgotten almost.
I don't think it's being... Well, she doesn't know that he's fighting him.
Right. But I'm just saying the show isn't paying any attention to it, because the characters are apart.
The only time it does reference it every time he pulls out, she still has her watch. And in episode 3...
No, she doesn't have it. Doesn't he have it?
He has it. I said she, I meant he.
Okay.
He's got the watch, and...
he's like, give it back.
Yeah.
Because the gorilla people steal it.
I was going to say, the girl. But what was her name?
It started with a cat. Kiki.
Kiki, that's right.
Well, what I mean by the show's forgetting about it, that's actually a bit of a compliment, kind of. And what I mean by that is like there are no scenes of Shiro or Aina
like looking to the stars and wondering.
No, there is a scene of Aina looking up at the moon in episode 4 when she goes out onto the balcony after she's like she hates the guy who's flirting with her.
She's like, I need to go get some air.
Yeah, she goes out on the balcony. She looks up at the moon. I think the idea is, is he looking at the same moon? But the show doesn't give voice to that thought. And there are no scenes where either character is openly like pining for the other, remembering them in a flashback or something, which is good. It doesn't, because that would bog the flow of an episode down for them to just be, inappropriately remembering someone when there's still characters to build up who we don't know enough about. Like, get to them first. That's what this episode did with Sanders and with Aina and her brother on their, in their territory. And where were they during the party?
I don't know.
They were on Earth. It's not as though they were in space.
Right, but we don't know where on Earth. We know that they're near that front.
Right, they're in the jungles someplace,
but
probably.
We don't know where specifically.
Yeah. But I really liked episode 4. I thought it was a real good slice of mecha action and character drama development kind of put together. Episode 3, I was like, get me out of here.
Every time we cover a mecha show, I always bring up Pacific Rim at some point because it was heavily inspired by Japanese television and culture. Part of the show even.
Kaiju
is the Japanese term for monster.
Well, yeah, it is.
And they refer to the monsters in that movie as kaiju.
Yeah, but kaiju like series where they're like the main villain that
Like
needs to be defeated
Godzilla.
by people and robots.
Yeah.
That's what Pacific Rim was inspired by, not by anything in particular. I mean, you can point to Ava or other series that it lifted from, but
You can point to the scene in every mecha show where someone finally uses a sword and it turns out to be the most overpowered weapon that they've ever used, because that happens in Pacific Rim. They're like, we've used all of our weapons. Hey, we've got a sword. Why don't we try that? And it slices the thing in half and they win in a matter of seconds. It's like, oh,
but Gundam
that happens in every anime.
But this Gundam didn't do that. I mean,
it didn't.
He does put a big old dent in.
I expected it to like crash or fail or something.
Yeah, so
did
I.
But
it
it flew away.
Yeah,
Obviously damaged.
yeah, damaged. But it is like a big super weapon kind of thing. I don't know if that thing is a weapon in itself.
Well, I think that giant shockwave that it did is proof that it's supposed to be like almost a bomb.
Yeah,
Like a.
It looks like a bomb.
Yeah,
looks like a giant bomb.
Wasn't there a?
And the way it dropped out of the sky when they dropped it from a really high altitude because they wanted to avoid radar. Probably at one point, there's a line of dialogue thrown in there about raise your elevation. We don't want them to see our flight path
because there was something wrong with it, and they had to go down low enough that they could see it.
Right. I also expected the laser sword to just destroy it, but it didn't. To the show's credit.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on that. What did you think about the dude firing at the planes that were flying overhead, or at the jets?
The guy who keeps writing to his girlfriend or whatever.
Whomever he's writing to. We don't actually know.
I can't remember his name.
I love how he's writing. He's like, my comrade has been listening silently to the radio for hours. And he takes it off and he's listening. I can't believe this stuff is on the pop charts now.
Yeah.
He's just listening to music.
Yeah, I don't like how I don't really like his character, but I can appreciate what role he plays. He's like the little guy, and he excuse me, and he's like, he takes the war effort seriously, and he's got somebody back home who he's writing to. I understand what his character is accomplishing for the show, but he's like the little twerp. And he shoots. That's the thing. Like he shoots and gives away their position for no particular strategic reason. And everyone on the squad is like buddy after Sanders saves the day, and nobody like talks to him about how he did something inappropriate. Maybe that'll come up in the next episode. Maybe. I imagine that there'll probably be an episode that focuses more on the kid and then focuses more on the redheaded woman, and I think that's reasonable to expect. So maybe he'll get the next little spotlight, and that'll be brought into it that he really messed up the mission, or almost did.
We'll see.
Yep. Any last words?
I really like this show. I think it looks good. I think
it's pretty cool.
I think it's a cool show, and I really want to watch other Gundam series now if they're half as good as this.
Well, you're in the middle of IBO.
Yeah.
So finish that.
I just say that's a good point.
I mean, not that IBO is the end-all be-all Gundam, but you're halfway done.
Yeah. And it's been pretty good so far.
Where would you, after we finish this, and if like putting IBO aside, where would you want to go? Like how early or how late?
I mean, I'd be down to watch the original.
Yeah. I don't think I would want to watch it for our show, because we just did it. We just did a Gundam. But
I do want to watch it though.
Yeah, I'm interested in watching it too. I mean, I kind of feel as though I need to. That's a stupid thing to feel, but I would like to be in the loop.
There's a 100-foot tall statue of 01 in
01. What are you talking about?
Gundam. There's
like the main, like the iconic unit.
The iconic unit is
yes,
01.
Yes,
There's a giant statue of it in Japan somewhere. It's like 100 feet tall.
Gundam's it's a ginormous franchise. That's like the main reason that I want to watch it, is to have that information in my brain. Just to say that I have. That sounds really stupid.
I want to watch it just to be able to say that I've watched it.
I need to enter it on my list of all the animes with an S that I've seen.
Excuse me, it's animes?
Sure is. All right, let's rank the shows.
Okay.
You got them written down on your phone there?
I do.
All right, why don't you go first, since you're so gung-ho apparently.
Number 1.
No, number 5.
Oh, shit. Number 5. Hisone to Maso-tan.
Damn. Oh, okay. I put Boku no Hero Academia.
Okay. Number 4, Lupin.
Megalo Box.
Number 3, My Hero Academia.
Lupin.
Number 2, Megalo Box.
Hinamatsuri.
And number 1, Hinamatsuri.
Okay, I put Hisone to Maso-tan. We can't agree on anything.
No, not even close today.
Yeah. Where did you put Megalo Box?
Second.
Okay. So we had Lupin and Megalo Box at relatively similar rankings, I guess. Hinamatsuri as well.
Yeah, Hinamatsuri was first.
That was
for
the
me.
one that we were closest on, I suppose. Well,
I just really like that show and how it portrays its relationships and its characters.
Yeah, it does a better than average job of giving like life to all of its comedic players.
And
like
it looks pretty good too.
It looks distinct. I'm glad that it looks as good as it does because this is a studio that I have high hopes for based on my appreciation of a past work of theirs.
Works, right.
But a lot of people are complaining that I've seen online. A lot of people complain that the characters look like stickers because they're kind of given that luminous sheen.
Yeah.
And they stand out from the environment. They don't quite blend in. A lot of people are not happy with that.
I think I can understand what they're saying, but I don't agree.
Yeah, neither do I. Although I have that same understanding. Yeah, it's a lot of people are like you yourself. You don't want to watch anime when the character designs are too far from the norm.
That's changed a little bit.
That's something that comes with exposing yourself to more art styles and more series. You become more tolerant of the stuff that's, I guess, outside the box.
Yeah.
And that probably goes for this show as well. I mean, there are pretty stereotypical anime character designs. Like you got the girls with all the different hairstyles, the big eyes, and they have like normally proportioned faces for anime. Like when you think anime, something like this would pop into your head.
Right.
But it also does look a little different. So whether you can tolerate that or not, in addition to that being something that comes with time, it also has to do with whether you buy into the show, whether you like the characters, whether you think it's funny, whether you think the plot is any good.
Right.
So, for this show, it seems that it's working for you. It is for me too. Which is good.
We didn't mention it, but I really like the scene where Nita goes to the bar and he's being scolded by everybody.
Right. And he can't reveal that.
Yeah, he's like, I can't tell them that she showed up in a portal from another dimension.
Yeah. Yeah, he's I have to imagine that secret will get out eventually. Like the show needs to mine various elements of its story for comedy. So that bit of information getting out, eventually it'll go there.
Yeah, I think so. That or more people from the other dimension will come over looking for both Anzu and Hina.
Yeah. You remember the redheaded girl from the fight scene in the first episode who hasn't shown up again?
Yeah.
I'm sure she's one of them.
Probably.
So I don't think it'll be too long before we see her again. I mean, they put her in the first episode.
Right.
Obviously as a way to hook you, but all the same, we've been conditioned to expect her. Yeah, we've been conditioned to expect her appearance. So hopefully they'll deliver on it. I think it would make sense if they would.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God, I'm exhausted.
All right, well, we're done.
Yeah, we are. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been
Average.
Yeah, it has been average. We'll see you later.